The UK government stands accused of failing to accept the realities of the devolution settlement. A damning report published this morning by the House of Commons Constitutional Affairs Committee condemns Westminster's failure to properly consult with Edinburgh, Cardiff and Belfast over the EU Withdrawal Bill.
In essence, it echoes the anger expressed in the Commons just last month when the SNP's Westminster leader Ian Blackford was ejected from the House, sparking the first mass walkout of MPs in a decade.
In light of the persistent and repeated refusal of the Right Honourable Gentleman to resume his seat when so instructed, I order the Right Honourable Gentleman to withdraw immediately from the House for order for the remainder of this day's sitting.
My colleagues came out in support of me, and I'm very grateful for that. But the fundamental issue here is that we have got a government that is ignoring the wishes of the Scottish Parliament, not the SNP, but every other party in the Scottish Parliament. It's a serious situation. It is a constitutional crisis.
Well, the Constitutional Affairs Committee report calls for a major rethink of the way the UK government deals with the devolved administrations. A review of devolution which should consider scrapping the role of Scottish Secretary and abolishing the Scotland Office. Well, Sir Bernard Jenkin chairs the committee. He joins us now. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
And if the UK government stands accused of failing to accept the realities of the devolution settlement, what has gone wrong? What has gone wrong here as regards the devolution settlement, do you believe?
Well, in a way, first of all, I think that the SNP are inevitably sensationalising this report. That's politics. But this is a solid piece of work, and it underlines that really when devolution was first established, it was very unfinished business. We set up legal devolution, but we never set up the institutional machinery and the sort of cultural political change that was needed in Whitehall and Westminster and in our constitutional machinery to underpin that devolution settlement. We visited other countries which have federal systems, if you like, and there is far more habit and culture of discussing and sharing with the devolved entities than there is in the United Kingdom. Now, we've got particular challenges because England is so much larger than Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. And the other problem we've got is the United Kingdom government is also the government of England. And sometimes I think, we just forget here down at Westminster how different things are, not just for Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, but for many other parts of England. And that's one of the points we bring out in this report.
Well, you accuse the SNP of sensationalising this, but they would argue that actually what you've done is come to the conclusion that they reached some time ago, because Scotland's Brexit Cabinet Secretary has accused the UK government of a power grab. You seem to, in essence, agree with that. Nicola Sturgeon said that 20 years of devolution has been ripped up by Theresa May's government's handling of the EU Withdrawal Bill. You're suggesting that, in essence, Westminster just hasn't really got those devolved administrations, and that is what the SNP have been saying?
Well, you are using the words power grab, ripped up, and if I may say so, I think that is completely sensationalising. I mean, the Liberal Democrats in Scotland, for example, has welcomed this as a very thorough report, and I think people should read the whole report. There are lessons to be learned. I mean, even the minister on our committee, the ex-Brexit minister on our committee, David Jones, the former Welsh secretary, really endorses the view that it is highly regrettable that there was not more consultation over the EU Withdrawal Bill. But let's learn the positive lessons from this. Let's build some institutional frameworks that have some robustness between Whitehall and Holyrood and the devolved administrations in Westminster. This is what we need to do. And I started from the basis, and I'm an English MP, albeit with Scottish ancestry, and a Brexiteer. I start from the premise that whatever arrangements we finish up within these islands, we're all going to have to work together, and we need to have a better relationship working together. And I'm afraid I always find that the SNP's tendency to cry foul at every opportunity is more about political opportunism than really looking after the interests of the Scottish people.
Well, they would argue, and there are many in the SNP who believe that what we're actually seeing here, because of the way and the UK government has treated the government at Holyrood over this, and because of Brexit, and I take on board what you've said about you being a Brexiteer, is ultimately what that will do is hasten the end of the union which your party and your Prime Minister, or at least Theresa May, supports.
I think if we are careless of our relationships within the United Kingdom, particularly as we now have devolution settlements around the United Kingdom, then it will make keeping the United Kingdom together more difficult. But I would just point out that this is not just something confined to politics. The BBC in London is giving this report no coverage whatsoever. And there was I'm not doing any interviews on the BBC in London on the radio this morning about this report. And that underlines that what the politics is reflecting is a cultural divide, if you like. But the Scottish people voted to stay in the United Kingdom. So I think it's my message, and I'm an English MP giving a very strong message to the United Kingdom government, that if you want to make this work better, there's going to have to be some changes. I mean, take the Sewell Convention, for example. The Sewell Convention was casually put into an Act of Parliament as a kind of sop to devolutionists and nationalists, and it clearly means different things to different people. Well, the government should publish a paper as to how the Sewell Convention should really work, because at the moment it is just used as a means of highlighting the differences between Holyrood and Westminster,
but do you think
which isn't very satisfactory.
Do you think the UK government taking the Holyrood government to the UK Supreme Court does anything to further the aims of devolution?
Well, I would say that if the Holyrood Parliament is going to step outside the devolution settlement in pandering to nationalist sentiments, after the Scottish people have voted to remain part of the United Kingdom, well, that's part of what we need to discuss. And it's unfortunate that two sides, both the Holyrood Parliament and the United Kingdom, are at loggerheads on this.
Well,
but this is where we need more discussion and understanding. And incidentally, there's no interparliamentary machinery between Westminster and the devolved parliaments. And one of the recommendations we're making is there should be a kind of Council of the United Kingdom, a parliamentary council of the United Kingdom that meets regularly to discuss issues we have in common. And we've started doing this informally, incidentally. There's an interparliamentary forum on leaving the European Union that's met several times now. It's all under the radar, but it's starting to build relationships and understanding between parliamentarians in different parts of the United Kingdom. That's what we should be doing.
Sir Bernard Jenkin, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us
this morning.
Thank you very much. He is chair of the Constitutional Affairs Committee at Westminster.